Welcome everybody to Fade to Obsidian. I am Skipper, joined as always by Crescent. And today we have a very special guest so Sam, but you got Howler named June, correct?
I did.
So, who are you? Why are you June? And what are you drinking tonight?
Okay, so my given name my mother gave me is Sam Luna. I am a cook here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and a howler of many years now.
Yeah.
The and though my given name might be Sam, I am now howler June. Uh, that a name that Howler One gave me, which is thrilling.
Yeah.
Uh, Backing up a little bit, I got to cook and serve dinner to Pierce and a number of fans and friends here for the night after HowlerCon. And the story and the circumstances around how that came to be is pretty wild, and I'm sure we'll get into it.
Yeah.
But at the dinner that I served, I was given the name June, but I was too uh, probably a little anxious or shy about it. But one of my colleagues, Chef Chloe Butler, uh, had figured out, because some of y'all came through my kitchen or our restaurant on Wednesday before HowlerCon, and everyone gave their Howler names at the point of sale, and so everyone was, all my colleagues, like, "What's going on?" And I was just like, "This is the best thing ever."
It's
So they were very,
happening.
yeah, yeah, they were very curious, like, who's like this ticket name coming through is Arctic and Skipper Crescent and like all these and every,
Oh.
and I hadn't really told, like, because I put in a Discord and a few other few Facebook groups about, you know, kind of a visitor's guide to Tulsa,
Yeah.
and had mentioned that we were doing that Wednesday night. But like, there's some engagement with it, but I didn't like expect. I didn't know if anybody was actually going to show up, and then lo and behold,
Yeah.
15
Yeah.
Yeah.
howling at me across the dining room. It was amazing.
It's pretty funny.
But those names, like, or the howler names on our chits, like, that got some of my colleagues curious, and so Chloe asked me, like, what's the deal with the name stuff? And I was like, well, I told her. So I guess the way I described it is like it's kind of like a call sign, but it's also a bit like just, bit of your personality, and like, and everyone takes it on. And she's like, well, what's yours? And I was like, I don't have one yet. And she's like, well, you need to get one. Like, but and somewhere in that conversation, I was mentioning, like, yeah, it is kind of like a big deal or an honor to like get your howler name from Pierce.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah. So at one point during the dinner, she went up to him and like asked him, like, for me, because I was just like, being trying to be professional or whatever. Uh, and yeah, he came back, like, he didn't think about it much, but he said June, uh, which is, I'm pretty thrilled about, because it's like one of the, maybe the only like named cook in the books is
Yeah.
June of House Ceres, the one uh, Darrow, Cassius, and Savros stole from Ceres, which is cool. Yeah, so June now.
Yes. Well earned. Love
That's
it.
amazing.
It was so fun. Yeah, that Wednesday
Yeah,
was hilarious. I think it was Badger or Dram had found it on the Facebook or something and was like, "We're going for dumplings," and we were like, "Okay." So we had a whole group of us just wander down, like, we've just been told to go for dumplings, and then it was a
yeah.
hilarious. I think the first person through gave their real name, and then I just walked up and was like, "Skipper." And after that, everyone was like, "Okay, no more
Yeah,
It
government
was
names."
it was
Um,
our first time kind of like, oh, this is how we're doing this weekend.
yeah,
Um and then it was like full send, just nobody's doing anything but howler names for this whole
yeah.
weekend.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, we sure appreciated it, and like I did. I like, man, I love it. It was cool. How I want to hear a little bit about y'all's take on Tulsa. How did it treat you? How was your experience?
It was
Aside
hot.
from, yeah, aside from
Just
standing inside of an
from
oven,
Yes.
um,
yeah, from living in the pits of hell. Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It was such a fun city. I keep saying that the great thing about HowlerCon being in that city is that if it was in a bigger city, if it was in New York or something, everyone would want to do their own thing. But because Tulsa it has enough things for you to be interested to do, and I want to do this, whatever. You could break off into groups and go do them, but everyone pretty much stayed together. So it was a perfect city for that. And
yes.
that first night of like, okay, we'll all just go for dinner together. And so you were all very hospitable, all of us ridiculously howling in the streets. But it was a good sized town for that. It was a lot of fun for
yeah.
that.
It's got really, really great acoustics for
For
carrying
Howling.
howls
Yeah.
downtown. Yeah,
Well, it's flat, and especially downtown. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
yeah,
all straight. You know, it's on a
Yeah,
grid. So yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. It was a
And
great
you probably
time.
weren't the only people screaming in the street. That's also, a pretty common thing around here. So
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we became obsessed with your scooter things. The electric scooters.
oh
We were
yes,
just taking
yeah.
those everywhere.
I
For my first few years of living in Tulsa, like I would spend entire weekends. I would just leave my car parked at the house and like scoot everywhere because it's sick.
They're so convenient. I love it. That's
yeah,
awesome.
we have them in my city, and I thought they were just the most ridiculous thing. I was like, why would I ever bother? Like, first of all, I'm gonna get drunk and absolutely eat shit on one of these. Um,
Done that.
but then yeah, came down to Tulsa, hopped on one. I was like, oh my god, I can spend a quarter of the time outside in this
Yeah.
horrifying temperature.
Mhm.
Oh
It's not expensive. You get a little joyride in, and you can. But Tulsa is beautiful because there's no traffic, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
you can ride your scooter down the wrong way or in the middle of the street, and like nothing's really gonna happen.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what it seemed like downtown. There was just nobody there
Yeah, yeah.
the whole weekend.
Good.
It was great.
Yeah.
It's good and bad thing. There's times where it
Mhm.
picks up, but it can be a sleepy town. But to Skipper's point was like that's why I love Tulsa is that like it's big enough to like offer like exciting things and all the things you might want from a city, but like small enough to feel like a small town and
Yeah.
everyone or a lot of people, especially in the service industry, know everyone. It's cool and like just a really good vibe. I love it out here.
That's awesome.
I certainly felt right at home. It was very much a
Yeah,
Saskatchewan vibe.
yeah, yeah. Love to hear that.
What was your experience of having us all descend on your hometown
Oh
there?
yeah.
Oh, it was sick. So yeah, I'll back up a little bit. Like I knew it was gonna be a great time. The Yeah, I posted that in the group just because as I mentioned in the message, or if y'all saw, like little shameless self promotion. Get people
Yeah.
into the business, and
Absolutely.
it worked out for all parties. Uh, the also just like I know the town now that I've been here 3.5 years, uh, and have like good, want people to have a good time when they visit. So like send them to the right places to eat and drink is what I can do.
Yeah.
So I actually mentioned to Joel and Christine from with Escalates, like it was like when we were planning the dinner and everything, I was like I had the idea. I actually ran into them outside of Valkyrie, which is again small town Tulsa thing. Where I was walking to Valkyrie from my apartment. I was like, oh, I need to text Joel and Christine about these few different things about the dinner. Uh, and lo and behold, they were sitting on the patio of
Yeah.
Valkyrie
Of
when I
course.
turned the corner,
Nice.
and they told me, it's like, you know what we were just talking about? How we needed to text you and talk to you about something. And I was like,
That's
well,
awesome.
That's wild.
uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of that happens in a town like this when you know a lot of people. Is like I was similarly like a month ago. I was thinking I need to get some T-shirts made for this dinner I'm running, but no guy who can probably do it fast and do it in the budget. But I don't have his number, and can't find him on Instagram. But I run into him in the bars all the time, and surely it'll happen. And then, no kidding, a couple days later, he rides by on his bicycle in front of the coffee shop, and I go like flag him down, and he doesn't, prints the shirts, and
That's
that's
awesome.
that. And
I love that.
really cool. Yeah, it's
That,
awesome.
The
But
city of Providence.
yeah.
yeah, it is. That happens all the time, and for better or for worse. Like sometimes you don't want the small town vibe. You don't want
Yep.
see everyone.
Mm-hmm.
When especially if you're going out for a drink, it's like I just want to sit at a bar, not.
Yeah,
But,
I want to shut my brain off. I don't want to talk to
yes,
16 different people that I've had
yes.
passing
But
interactions with.
it's a big enough city that the bars you can go to that you're not going to run into anybody. But
Yeah.
yeah. So the that Wednesday, y'all coming in was when it really kind of sunk in. Like, because I was mostly focused on, or almost entirely focused on, like the dinner. I was anxious about it, and like its first menu I had written because I wrote it back in, or like pitched it back in like March, and I've only been cooking or cooking professionally for a year now. So the Red Rising themed dinner was the first thing I like put together as a menu.
That's
And
awesome.
so
Yeah.
the so I was anxious. I was a little anxious about it because I didn't know how it would hold together, and I'd been so busy with other work that like I hadn't tested the recipes. It was all kind of pen and paper theory, and so I was like pretty preoccupied with it during the lead up to it. So I, known I was going to the convention, but like hadn't planned to like engage with it all that much until the dinner. But after Wednesday night, I kind of caught the bug. After I was seeing y'all come through and like being like, "Oh shit, this is happening." Sorry, can I swear?
Oh yeah, for
Yes,
sure.
fuck yeah.
Okay. I was like, "Well, shit, this is happening. Like
Yep.
this is cool. Like the people, everyone I met and engaged with was sick as hell." So I was like, "All right, let's do it." And then so I like moved up my prep schedule to for a Friday dinner. A lot of the work's going in on Thursday, and
Yeah.
usually I do that in the later evening. But I just like started as soon as possible, so I could be free, be sure I could like go enjoy the con,
Yeah.
which was sick. And the crazy thing is, man, it's another small Tulsa thing where my friend and former partner was like picking me up from my apartment to carpool to Kane, and I get in my elevator and run into a young woman in a white dress, but she has a red flower in her hair,
Okay.
and like I was like, "What are the odds?" So I like just turned to her like, "Is there any chance you're on your way to Kane's right now?" And she's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Are you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "I'm literally calling you an Uber right now." I was like, "Stop, cancel it. You can carpool with us."
That's
uh,
amazing.
Allie from the Bay Area. I can't remember her last name
I was
or
wondering
how.
if it was Allie.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
actually in the den now.
Oh no shit.
I don't.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Hey
think.
Allie.
Actually, I was the one who gave her the QR code. I don't think we've named her yet.
Yeah.
We'll have to get on that. But it was wild. I just like the vibe. I was like, I think we're going the same place. And then she ended up hopping in the car with us and like heading in. And I think she was one of the first ones in line because instead of standing in line in the direct sunlight, because I got there pretty
Mhm.
early,
Yeah.
hoping to kind of schmooze my way in because I had like will call comp tickets or whatever. And Joel had at one point mentioned like, yeah, if you want to try to come by early, like, do you think you can talk your way in? I was like, hell yeah, I can talk my way in. Turns out I could not, in fact, talk my way in.
Oh
But which was fine because as the line was coming up, still 107 degrees, sun's nowhere near going down. So
no.
we popped into Sound Pony, the adjacent bar, and sat at the bar and found out, and the patrons next to us were also howlers, but local. So they also knew it was like, yeah, well, I mean, we're not gonna like wait in the line where
Yeah.
to get it early, to get closer or whatever. So we ended up talking with them, hanging out with them a long time and they're local, which was cool because they were big fans, but uh, we were able to talk about Tulsa stuff as well. So that was cool. So I got like a little bit of the meeting all the out of towners and like enjoying that craziness, and then I met some folks that like I haven't seen them come through the restaurant, but they said they would try, uh, which is
That's
cool.
awesome.
And then the actual event was sick. Like hats off to Joel and Christine because
For sure.
it's unreal, and big cheers to y'all for holding it down and being the party all night long. That was cool. That was
Yeah,
cool.
we were a
I like
little rowdy.
I was like Lucy and I were walking around the convention floor, checking everything out, and I was keeping my head on a swivel, kind of like looking for y'all and everyone who I had met the night before. Uh, and I kind of had a hunch that the group that was standing and partying the hardest would be y'all. So I like circled around and like peered over. And then as soon as I saw that it was y'all saw me, and everybody's like, "Ah!"
Freaking out. Yeah. We were very energetic that night. For
Yeah,
sure. Yeah. It was a good time.
yeah,
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, and you guys were way smarter to hang out before going. I was hiding behind cars to stay in the shade, is how I was dealing with that lineup.
that's tough. That yeah.
Yeah.
I but also like wasn't looking for autograph or personalization or something because I kind of thought I might be able to get that on Friday.
Yeah. Yeah, you might have an in there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
awesome.
yeah, so the actual convention night was fun. I didn't hang out just because I wanted to be sharp. Knew it was going to be like a long day. Ended up being like a 15-hour day to pull it all off. But that Friday for the dinner.
Yeah.
So didn't I was wish I'd had the capacity to tie one off with y'all and hit the
Yeah.
town. But
Yeah.
did y'all do so?
We went back to
Yeah.
Sound Pony and
Well,
Yeah.
well, we went
we
to,
we tried to go to oh, what the heck's it called? That vodka bar right across the street.
Oh, yeah. Oh, crap.
Um, it's like Industry or something.
It'll come to me. But yeah, yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So we rolled in there, and you could just see them panic because there's
Oh,
I don't know 30 of us roll in. There's one bartender. There had been two people in there previous playing pool, and they go,
yeah.
we have nowhere near the amount of staff to serve you guys, and we're closing in an hour. So we oh, great. So
Yeah.
all of
Inner
us
Circle.
kind of got one drink, and sorry.
Inner Circle is the name of the
Oh
bar. It
yes,
oh,
just
yes,
came to me.
yeah. So yeah, they like yeah, our last call is in you know less than half an hour.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we
Not the
we
same.
all quickly got our drinks, and being a Thursday night, they're like, yeah, we had 100-person pub crawl come through, and then sent our second bartender home because
oh.
events at Canes don't turn into that
Yeah.
ever. And yeah, so then we did pop across to Sound Pony and
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sound
spent
funny
the
sick.
remainder of the night there, and it was great.
It was so much fun. Yeah, who knew that the nerds can outdo the rowdy concert goers?
Yeah,
I would have
just
put my
these
money on
nerds.
the nerds. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It was pretty great.
Well, especially if you travel so far and are meeting friends that like might not have ever met in person before. Oh yeah, yeah, it's going
Yeah,
down.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. We had quite the night, quite the night. But
yes,
yeah,
we
and
did.
then you the next day get to do the dinner. So, okay, how did the dinner
Yeah,
come to be? So, you had mentioned to us about chance meeting with Joel previous, right? That he could come into this. So, like, how did that play out?
yeah, yeah. So this is it's wild, and that's why it doesn't feel totally real because like I can't believe this happened. But uh, yeah, I've been a fan for a long time, and I think I like was aware of Joel's was working as an artist and just being a prominent local artist and had to do like early in the run, like shit escalate days that like I got a few of the merch drops and like I think it's not on me. I usually have it in my backpack, but like I have like the original shit escalate scarf, or bandana,
Yeah.
and like those things I like would get, and they were postmarked from Tulsa. I was like, what? Like, I'm in Tulsa. These like came from 2 miles away. What's going on here? And then
Yeah.
like
Damn it, I paid
figured
shipping for
out.
this.
Yeah, I know. If I'd known, I could have just probably figured out who's doing it and messaged them
Yeah.
like, "Hey, I'll come pick it up." But because the Flash Flood, the print studio that partners with them, works with them, was at the con, like our homies, and like help us out here too. And yeah. So I just had started to put it together, and then so between those two things, like I would like I recognized Joel when I saw him, and I saw him when I came in on a Wednesday night, so it was the dumpling night that y'all got to check out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like my first Wednesday off the schedule or not working in months and months and months. So I was like, well, best thing to eat on a Wednesday night in Tulsa was dumpling night. So I went in when I was off to go eat and met Joel and Christine, or like got in line, just happened to get in line behind him. And I recognized Joel, and also he happened to be wearing some Howler regalia or some Cadet Plates swag. And I just like asked, like, "Hey, are you Joel Daniel Phillips?" And he's like, "Yeah, what's up?" And I was like, "Yeah," like, and that kicked things off. Like the wait in line was probably at that time like 25 minutes, and so we just like talked the whole time and really started hitting it off and like talking about nerding out hard about the series and talking about this and that, and we both ended up ordering and like like looking for seats, and then he offered, he was like, y'all just want to sit with us? I was like, yeah. And so then after we ended up like hanging out for like a couple of hours talking about this, and at some point it comes up that this was a possibility that like he said they was planning a Tulsa book tour stop for Lightbringer, and like he had already had the idea to do a dinner, and I think I had already like kind of thought about like what I would do like in an abstract way about like a Red Rising dinner, because I was thinking about menus at that time, uh, and the two things just like lined up perfectly. And I was like, well, if you need to cook for any of that, like you found him.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And so and we went back and forth a little bit. Like I like pitched a menu, and I think immediately like we're like, oh yeah, like it was like the idea was always I wanted the menu to be inspired by the books, and so I like took the uh, Pyramid of the Society and like the color hierarchy and like made dishes that followed it from red to gold. And that was always the original pitch, and like the initial menu I wrote is not too far off from what I ended up serving like 6 months later.
Wow.
It was batshit crazy that it actually was even in the position to like for this to happen, and then we both like we just all made it happen, and it was, oh boy, it was wild. So it all started just by chance meeting here at the restaurant, and as they say, shit escalates, and
Yeah.
Oh
That's
yeah, it does.
amazing.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. That's
I
why I
can
don't know.
tell sitting here like just how mind blown you are. It like you can see it in your face and the way you talk. You're first of all so passionate about it, and second, I think you might still be believing that you're dreaming.
Yeah.
But let me tell you,
Yeah,
you are not.
it
You
was,
are in
yeah,
fact not.
man,
Yeah.
yeah, it was wild. Because like the books are super important to me, and like I've been a huge fan of them. And like it's not to skip ahead too much, but it wasn't like a meet your hero, like don't meet your hero situation. Like he was actually fucking sick. Like
Yeah.
Yeah,
not only nice, cool, and handsome, but like warm and excited. You know, a bit
Yeah.
excited about the books in a way that like he loves these characters too, and just gets more excited when we love them. You know, because I
Yeah.
could have totally understood like, hey, this is the midpoint of a really hard, long run for him, and but like, no, he was in it and loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
it's cool.
I think that might be. I think that might be the beer that I had on that Wednesday.
The oh,
Oh,
this be the same
it
brewery.
wasn't.
Yeah,
Yeah, not the. No, it's not the same one though.
yeah, they have the
Like
same. They have a Nashville-based artist, Jessica Rue, that does all their labels, so their style's super consistent and super
Oh, okay,
dope.
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Which I don't have a. This came up over HowlerCon because I don't have like an explicitly or any Red Rising tattoos,
Mm.
but kind of adjacent. Like I have a snake that I gave the artist two reference photos. This artist did a beautiful snake for the shape, but for the shading, I sent the Dark Age cover. So
Oh,
Oh.
it's
that's sick.
it is Red Rising influenced, if not
Yeah.
explicitly like a Howler
Yeah.
tat or anything like that.
That's
But
awesome.
y'all got y'all got tattoos too,
I
don't
did not. Crescent did.
Uh, hard to see it. So I had the green and orange sigil already,
you?
and the Howler sigil. But we got
But
Ata and Pegasus Legion tattoos while
sick.
we were down there. That
That's so cool.
it was like $250 for
I
these
know you
two
went
little
on
Pegasus. I
two
went
different
twice, two
days
different days.
instead of. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
One
true.
in
There would be a
Tulsa.
little economy of scale if you just gotten them
Oh
all at
yeah,
once, but it is more fun
Yeah.
that
It
yeah,
was two different
exactly.
groups that he was going with. So,
Yeah,
way. Yeah, it's worth it for the memories. Easy.
yeah,
yeah.
for sure. I know I kind of regret we were making the joke that I needed to get Expect Me because it's my favorite line of the series and the fact that it's reoccurring of just the like, Expect
Yeah.
Me. But also, I did three different tours on the. Sorry, three different stops on Pierce's tour. Did Toronto, Chicago, and then Tulsa. So it would just be
Nice.
hilarious to be like, expect me. Like, small regrets. Maybe next time.
Yeah.
There's always next
I like
Howler Con.
I like the sigil tattoos because I thought
Yeah.
about like
Mm.
getting uh, uh orange gear and the violet arrows like overlaid each other would be
Oh,
cool,
Yeah,
or like
cool.
one on each wrist
yeah.
because
My buddy,
I like
my buddy, his Howler name is Charon, like the boatman of the river Styx. Uh, and
sick.
he got the orange gear and the violet arrows mixed together, and it looks
Cool.
awesome.
Hell yeah. Well,
He's it's
I'd be
just
an
the
honor to join his ranks.
orange, yeah, orange ring, and then just immediately inside it the violet arrows.
That's
Nice.
what because until I became like a year ago, my whole professional career I've been an engineer. So
Okay,
big change, yeah, big
no
change.
doubt.
But the skill sets overlay like a little more than you might expect. Like
Yeah.
I don't know who likes more right angles more, engineers or cooks, or yeah, and it's just like understanding of heat
Yeah.
is you know one's theory and one's practice, and then yeah, or efficiency. Like who's more obsessed,
Yep.
cooks or engineers, both perhaps equally. But yeah, so the skill sets align a little more than you might expect, but it is a big
Nice.
lifestyle change for sure.
Oh, for sure.
I like him. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
All right,
right.
so
Well,
we've brushed on it briefly. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
what's everybody drinking?
all right. Sam, what do you have?
Uh,
June, what do you have? Sorry.
Yeah.
June.
so, thank you. That's an honor. So I have Heirloom Rustic Ales Cafe. It's a petite French ale that Heirloom here in town makes, and in my opinion, the best brewery in town. They just really light and crispy French ale that serving at the dinner I co-lead on Saturdays right now. So we have plenty of it on hand.
Nice.
Very
I've
nice.
got Lagavulin 16. Classic.
Classic
Yep.
disciple of
Yeah, yeah.
Arcos.
Yep. It's my
When
go-to.
we
My
we did
go-to
our
when I'm not creative enough to come up with something else to drink. I just go
yeah
straight back to Lagavulin.
we
There
did
you go.
we did an interview with Pierce at the end of April, and both Skipper and I had different Lagavulins, and Pierce called us disciples of Arcos. That was sweet.
Yeah. And
That's
then by the
awesome.
end of the night, I had had far too much of it, but
Oh, me too.
we were a little
But
done.
tonight
Well,
I am drinking Angel's Envy bourbon
Mm.
beautiful,
because
fantastic choice.
our sweet angel Book June, I'm sure, would be envious of our newfound June from Malibu.
Yes. There you go. There you go.
I don't know where we left off, but I want to relay all of it.
Yeah.
Help people like vicariously experience it. I guess.
Yeah.
Uh,
So walk us through. Okay, what
the
was the dinner like? Like,
okay, yeah, fantastic.
let's go into it.
That day for me, like I was planning to like start prepping at 9 or 10 a.m. and just woke up at 6:45, on like a little hungover and like 3 hours sleep. But just one of those days where you're like, it's time to go.
Yeah.
So I think I got in here at like 7:15, and so just started plugging. It's typically like menus like this will have been researched and tested, and you'd be familiar with it, but a lot of it, like I said, just I had an idea that it would work, but no actual proof. Uh, so I just got ahead and like knew I had plenty of time. So like, but also that things would come up and would be challenges. So I just came in and started working first thing in the morning. A little bit out of like nerves, nerves, and just like wanting to get it right. Now they're just like, that's what you got to do. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I had, as I mentioned her before, but Jeff, Chloe, in all day. So she was on along with me, and we just cooked and cooked and cooked. And she's a pastry chef, though also super fine savory chef, and like she's good at everything she tries to do. But so we just were stayed busy all day, and that's one beautiful thing about those work is like whatever else is going on. If you're like nervous about putting on, you have a very executable goal. Just keep cooking, just keep plugging,
Yep.
which is sick. So I just like nose down, worked on all this, and then had two more of my colleagues like come in to help like set up the room and like be extra hands for the actual service. But yeah, so that's kind of how the day leading up went to it. Pretty normal, all things told. Just like, except that it was a whole new menu, which is always, you're gonna find things that you weren't anticipating and need to troubleshoot. But I knew to build in time for that. But at 5, so dinner started at like, everyone arrived at like 6, and dinner was planned to start around 7 or 6:30 or something like that. So we had colleagues here setting up, but around hour and a half, Joel and uh, Christine's friend Molly and one of their friend Deja came and like set the room. And so like my colleagues like knew I was excited about this, or were excited for me about it, but didn't understand really what was like going on, what the vibe was, why is this like so cool. Like they were excited for me, but just didn't quite understand it. And I was like trying to explain to them like it's gonna be really fun. It's gonna be what this and that, but like I don't think it really clicked until later that like it like when they started having fun. Like it was like a service unlike we've ever done. But we set the room, and Molly and Deja like you might have seen the pictures on my Instagram, just like threw threw open the doors, like just it was beautiful. Like it was like our friends ever something made these really crazy red, almost alien like flower arrangements. We had the Helma berries, like somebody had made for the con. I made. I don't know if
Oh,
that was an orange armory
Yeah.
or
I think that it was it like kind of like
It's
almost a clay, and then it
it's
had
like
red
paper
light
mache
up
or
eyes.
clay. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
we met in
So
that.
so we have he's in the den.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
shit! Cool.
Let
Well,
me yeah. But we ran into him in the or like in the elevator on the day we were leaving, I think it was.
Yes, yes.
And he stopped and chatted with him for a little bit, and he showed us some pictures of. Oh man, that's amazing.
it was, and that was like kind of a centerpiece. We put that like on the bar. But one thing that worked out with Joel and Christine was I had two kind of visions for the meal. I wanted everyone to, because I didn't know. I know there'd be some sweepstakes winners, and maybe there'd be some friends and fam, But wanted everyone to be able to see everyone, round table style. But you've seen the room. It looked like at the coffee shop. It's a little tricky, but we had 16 guests, and one thing that I thought of early, and like glad we were able to execute. I set the dining room in a horseshoe shape, facing
Mm-hmm.
that bar. So I used those big tables, if you remember the ones you sat at, and set to where everyone would sit on the exterior ring of the horseshoe, and so everyone would be able to see it. It
That's
also
awesome.
benefited me because I could just walk to the interior of the ring and like serve people, top off drinks,
Yeah.
deliver like drop food.
Yeah.
So it was like ideal for both. And then, but the beautiful thing is that, as the pictures you might have seen on Instagram, was like seating Pierce right at the head, looking out with the skyline in the background. It just like looked like he was Jesus at the Last Supper,
Yes, I loved those pictures. It was so
which
good.
I
Yeah.
always kind of pictured that how it would be, and like it being kind of dramatic and over the top, and it fucking sure was. Uh, so I'm glad that aspect worked. Even though like you couldn't really truly talk to everyone, you could see everyone, but you couldn't really talk to everyone. So I don't know if I'd redo. I wouldn't do it any other way, but I know now.
Mhm.
There's limitations to that, but yeah. So we set the room, and with that like kind of dramatic table setting, and the couple days before, like I'd offered to Joel and Christine to like print menus, but I don't have like the graphic design chops or the time to really do it well. But they're both artists,
Yeah.
so I figured that's a responsibility I can hand off. And so they made. I won't have one on me, but they made gorgeous
Yeah. We'll
menus.
we'll we'll drop in a little
With some
picture of one
pictures and stuff.
in
Yeah.
the episode. Skipper
And I
Skipper will
remember
drop one in.
Yeah, thanks.
we.
Make a
Thank you,
note.
Skipper.
Yeah.
Uh, and like with gold leaf and red I love them. I have one. I'm gonna probably frame one, but
Hell
uh,
yeah.
he did right at the bottom, which I both love and hate. Uh, Menu created and whatever by it all, and Master Chef Sam Luna, which in
Oh.
the is in the like Master Maker, Glassties, or like
Yes.
Yeah.
it's but which I think is sick. But my like Chloe and my colleague chefs saw that and were like, "Oh, Master Chef!" Like her eyes might have rolled out of her head when she saw that. I was like, I'm never gonna live that down, am I? And she's like, "You sure won't."
No, own
uh,
it. Own it.
Yeah.
That is your title now. Own it.
I'll take it. I'll take it. But yeah, so the menus were sick. The room felt great, and then it came down to serving it. And I can kind of go down the line on. We'll talk about the food a little bit because that's a lot of work went into it, and
Yeah.
and it
We want to
is
hear.
Mm-hmm.
the so I always envisions like the first course just being red, being starting with red, and being a small bite. And so I my particular brand of cooking. I love cooking with fire, smoking, grilling. Um, just playing with fire for my job is sick.
Very howler energy.
So yeah. So you're gonna be getting smoke flavor in a lot of things, which I love. But I am red and smoky. I'm just from the very first draft of the menu knew I wanted to smoke some beets because they like come out beautifully red and like they're kind of dramatic. Especially even if you serve it on a plate on its own, it's like it's just so red and like beautiful. It's dramatic, and so I called the dish like the Hamanthus bloom, and it was a red smoked beet that I got. Fortunately, Chef Chloe, who's again a pastry chef, so she has the touch to make it beautiful, and they were incredible. We took it over some local goat cheese, we whipped up and piped onto the plates like in a spiral, and then smoked off those beets, shaved them thinly, and then rolled them sheeted. I tried a few, and they were hideous. So she ended up rolling them all into beet roses. So they were like
Wow.
actual smoked beet rose, which is like not my typical. This menu is not like terribly inflected of my cooking because like that presentation is so much, but like if the situation demanded it, like I wanted it to
Oh
be
yeah.
like striking and sick, and it was because they present beautifully. They just like, and I think that and like I didn't bust a single plate that had any bite left. It was a small amount of food, but like that's
Yeah.
telling. Which I'm proud of. But yeah, so the red Hamanthus bloom dish was a smash. But like I almost broke Chloe because folding 18 of those roses took an extreme amount of focus for like an hour and a half. Just because she's a bit of a perfectionist, but and again I rolled two that were quite ugly. I would have served them, but those were the taste testers.
Yeah. Yeah, you
Yeah.
gotta
So we
have
were
that.
balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah. So working our way up, we did like a breads and spreads course. That was the low colors,
Mm.
and we took like umami mayo aioli. That's a bit of a house recipe, and I just dumped. I added a shit ton of squid ink into it to make it black, and it was
Oh yeah.
sick. Like the squid ink, like might add a little bit of fishiness, which in that dish, like in that spread, like works actually. But like it's basically just tasteless or hard to perceive, but it makes it like dramatically black. And a pickled red onion that was turned pink because you ever pickled red onions, they just turn into pink little half moons and they're gorgeous. Uh, all served. Oh, and then we call them like umami bomb mushrooms, but a simmered mushroom and sliced thin that were brown and really tasty. And like so, you get a little bit of the acid in the color from the the onions, but there's actually really a lot of umami going on between the bread, the mayo, which has a little bit of umami in it, and then the mushrooms are just punchy. And that was the dish that like I served like a lot of these dishes, except for the first and the last one, like where they were shareable.
Mm.
I just like to do that to like force you to engage and commune
Yeah.
with your neighbor. Also makes one person serving the dining room a little bit easier when you're doing
Yep.
Yeah.
8 drops instead of 16. Uh, but I like went back and forth for a long time whether I'd serve it composed like a bite with like all the three elements like in the right amount or not, and ended up deciding just to serve the bread and the spread separate. People could make their own bite, which I think was the right call. And that was the dish that like Joel and Pierce both got there. Like we're both like, whoa. And the one I was also worried about because I didn't know how it would all tie together because I hadn't made all the three elements and tried them together, which is not good practice. But really proud of how that one came out, and it was cool. And the bread, since it was my first menu, like leaned into some of the strengths of my group because I don't like know. Especially at that time, I didn't know all that much, so I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
like lean on what we already do well. Uh, so the bread is just like a house specialty as well. Uh, then the salad course, the mid colors, big palette to work with. So I called it on the menu Mickey's palette.
Nice.
The uh, did my best to hit all three or hit all five or all of the different colors. So I did like a roasted corn salad, which is when I added a little poblano, charred poblano, and some peaches in there because the poblanos and peach are really good together in corn. Uh, so that hit those colors. I served it to like be edible or like easily eaten, like in like a romaine wedge or not wedge, but leaf. But blue and violet were tricky, and I just so I had got blueberries and I tossed them in like this like citric acid and like sugar, so they were kind of like a sweet little, almost like candy, you know. They just like, but it was blue because I couldn't think of a way to incorporate blue into the course otherwise.
Yeah, that's
Same
a
with
weird color for food.
Yeah.
yeah. And then I got like little purple orchids to garnish with. Like I just,
Oh, there you go.
the ones you get like in cocktails, maybe.
Yeah.
And I try to get people to eat them because they are edible. They don't taste good, but I just need purple on the plate, so had to fudge a little bit on that one. But it did present beautifully, and people really liked it. But then the fourth course, the main course, tricky. So it's copper, silver, and white. I like thought I was taking. It ended up working out great. So for copper and just for a nice main, like I took whole chicken quarters and smoked them off in like in a barbecue style. So they, bronze become basically like beautiful bronze things. And like I like the the medieval times of like serving bone-in chicken that people had to eat with their hands.
Yes.
Like,
Yep.
it's, I mean, a bunch of howlers, like make them eat with their hands.
Make them eat it. Yep.
And just like short of like serving, I almost wanted to go full medieval times and like serve smoked chicken, like whole chicken.
Yeah.
But or the Cornish game hens or something like that. But dialed that back and did smoked leg quarters over like a pomme puree, so like fancy restaurant mashed potatoes. And for silver, I like didn't have anything in mind. Like I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, or like I'll find something. But I was talking to one of my colleagues, Chef Caitlin Woods, and they said they had an idea to use a house recipe that we've been serving fairly recently. It's blue oyster mushrooms that you pickle.
Oh.
So basically, you cook them in like a pickling brine, and the blue oyster mushrooms are like a steely blue. So then when you pickle them, they kind of like darken a little bit, so they like truly look silver. And the dish needed acid, so shouts out to Chef Caitlin for making that recommendation, because it actually, like, I also didn't touch a plate with a single pickle on there, which means I probably needed more acid in the dish. But they're also super tasty.
Yeah.
That was sort of like individual, because I'm not going to make people share, chicken bones.
Yeah, I was gonna say pass along your chicken. It's fine.
Yeah. Find Severo, make him the end of the line.
Yeah. No, Sophocles. Doesn't Sophocles at some point eat a chicken bone?
Yeah, but then it goes back to Severo.
All right.
You just let Sophocles eat off of it.
I'm so sleepy, I can't remember. What's the finish the bucket or
get the box?
Get the box. There we go.
Speaking of which, shout out to Sweets. He's got
oh god.
He's made this basically Hot Ones style
that we have to do.
That he's gonna send it out to us. Skipper's actually coming to visit in October. Yeah. And he's gonna send it out, and we're gonna
try it on the pod.
Yep. It'll be live.
In person.
I will get through approximately one and then die. Let's just call it now. But yeah.
Well, I'll be tuning in for that for sure.
Awesome.
I'll take,
love it.
Hey, if you want to send some hot sauce to Tulsa, I'll take it.
There you go.
I'm sure he'll have an easier time getting it to you than he will to us. But
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah. It's a lot of stuff to deal with. Working across the lines, but
yeah,
and then I think the dessert I got to try. Do y'all
Yes.
yeah.
remember the photo
Oh my
crab?
God, it was so good. I'm not a dessert person, and it was so delicious. It was so good. Yeah, that was like the best part of Wednesday. Like, it was lovely meeting
Yeah.
everybody, but then you brought out that, and it was like we died and went to heaven. It was so good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so glad I was like in the working the position I was in because any given night on you might be on saute on the hotline on point of sale taking orders or in the dish pit doing dishes. That's kind of part of our group which we can touch on later or I would like to talk a little bit about. But
Yeah.
uh, I just happened to be like in the expo front of house expo window, so like when y'all came through, I saw all the tickets, and I was able to like hang out with y'all a little bit and like engage with y'all, which I was thrilled about. And then I also am the one to garnish and like serve the dessert. So that's my little bit of power on Wednesdays. Like, oh hell yeah, I can sling some free desserts when people want it. And so I was like, yeah, I'm absolutely going to bring y'all a taste of this because that is a showstopper. Like the pot de crème,
That
and
was
so it's a
Oh,
French style custard that we like cook sous vide and like top with a little. Typically, we do like maple syrup and black salt. But for Friday night for Pearson Crew, since it was the gold dessert, I topped it with honey and Maldon salt. Just a little riff on our house specialty dessert. And but like I got to it's fun, thrilling for me to serve people like that, especially really excited people. The and to surprise you, it's just like it's a real
oh,
thrill for me. And then, but also when people have their first of our pot de creme, it's like watching. Like I'm always like sneakily or not so sneakily like trying to watch like their expression when they first taste it. But I was still standing with y'all when everyone dug in, and like it was like, holy shit!
yeah.
It was like, and oh god, it felt so good.
It was so good.
I
We thank you so
I've
much for that.
yeah. Oh my God, thank you. I've been telling people about that
Yeah.
like ever since, and I'm like, it may be the best thing I've ever put in my mouth.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I've heard that before. I've heard that before.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
It was so
I'm so
good.
glad y'all made it by. But so that was dessert. That's what we got to serve, and then like, man, I think it was sick. The and the fans I got to meet were all super nice. Obviously, like I don't think everyone uh like when he knew like I think pretty it would be pretty evident that I'm like a big fan of this, but you
Hmm.
wouldn't expect that. You'd be like, okay, like there's somebody catering this dinner, but like it was so cool to actually engage with people and like not only Pierce and the homies, but like the all the fans like were really really nice, really sick, and some of the vendors like I know I can't remember his name, but Orange Armory
Oh,
Josh.
guy, right?
Josh
Oh,
or
Josh.
Jigsaw is how we
Oh,
call him. Yeah.
Jigsaw's he was so he's cool. The yeah, and everyone was man, it was fun.
Yeah.
But after dessert, I know it was long winded, but I want like it. Oh, it's sick.
No, keep going. Keep going. We want to
yeah,
hear it all.
absolutely.
So
Yeah,
I had an idea a few months ago, and I was like, once I thought of it, I can't not do it. And I did, like wrestled with whether I like have it be written on the menu or just have it be a surprise. But I always wanted a mignardises or like an after dinner gift uh, of jelly beans.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
Uh, and then I had thought of, okay, I wanted to, or I did. What I ended up doing was like I took these little bags of jelly beans, tied uh, and taped them to the bottom of the chairs to where, like, when I was like giving the final toast, be like, "Do you have my Oprah moment?" As Chloe said, and be
Nice.
like, "Look under your chairs," which works for some, but it was so hot and like
Mm.
that as like right as guests were arriving, I would just periodically hear a like 'cause my like dining room scissors are pretty
Oh.
sharp right
Yeah.
now. Like I can hear a chopstick fall from like a crowded
Yeah.
room from But I would just hear it, and I would like have to like sneakily go by and like pick up the bag because
Yeah.
it was so hot in the room. The tape that I
The
used to put them
tape's
under
gone.
it was
Oh
falling.
Oh
no.
yeah.
So a few people had the surprise Bruins, but like most people played along. If they did have surprises, they mostly played along. And then some people really did get to have that moment, like, oh, cool, because like once I told people at the end of like giving my final toast, or second to last toast, I had to like go give out the ones that had fallen that I had like
Yeah.
tried to bust. But it's cool. I think everyone like really kind of that started like kind of shifting things. It was like a more normal dinner than you might expect, kind of throughout the main course or throughout the savory courses, and then just like things started to get really fucking fun, like after dessert. So like the jelly beans were a fun little like kind of icebreaker. While people were still vibing with that, enjoying that, I had so like as soon as I or Joel and I had like booked dinner and it was happening. I
Yep.
got excited that weekend and went and bought a bottle of Lagavulin 16, and I was like, and
Hell
it
yeah.
stayed in the box of my apartment, just where I could see it, unopened, just to get excited about it.
Yeah.
Uh, and I also had like this 12 beautiful pieces of like gold dimware that I got in the estate sale like year and a half ago, and I've used 0 times up until then. But they're gorgeous. I was like, this is perfect because they're like too small for anything but like a little nip of whiskey, and
Yep.
they're gold, beautiful. Like, and so I was like, finally get to use it. So I brought up this tray of these like golden lay like little like not martini like daiquiri glasses, and set it in front of Pierce like in the middle of the table and was like, hold it, watch this for me real quick, and then like went back and like brought out the bottle and like set it down in front of him. I like wanted to offer him if he wanted to pour it up for the guests, but like he's like, go ahead. And so I went and like poured him and like gifted him the bottle and like poured him up, and everyone, most everyone
Yeah.
except a handful of folks that like just couldn't or weren't drinking, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
took it. And if jelly beans kind of broke the ice, the once everyone started taking nips of the whiskey, it got real loose real fast, and it
Yeah.
became very fun.
That's awesome. I love
Yeah,
that.
Yeah. That's
yeah.
So many special
amazing.
touches in that. Like, kudos to
It,
you for the amount of thought. It's not just
Oh
well,
not
yeah.
having
just like
six
the
months as
colors and
well.
that, but like you brought the entire fandom to that. Like, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Like,
Yeah. Like
Thank you.
you can tell there was so much passion put into it.
yes.
Thank you.
Like
Yeah,
even
I
hearing you talk about it on that Wednesday, you were
Yeah.
so excited, and
Yeah.
we were all so excited for you.
Yes. Yes.
it was, oh man, it was a dream. Uh, yeah, and we got to shortly after the whiskey started drinking. I think I might have my order of events a little bit mixed up, but like basically after my final toast, Joel kind of took over and like had the room. Like, yeah, it must have been afterwards because my colleagues came out to the front and have pretty much completed the horseshoe into a circle, and
Yeah.
Joel like took over the room and like asked everyone to go around the circle and tell them who they are, where they're from, where they come from, and like a few things about yourself and like who's your favorite character. Uh, so it did, and I, like it was pretty special because like hearing everyone their connection and then their favorite character, and work down the line, and then Pierce's favorite character, if I remember, he joked that it was Lysander, I think.
Oh God.
And
Eesh.
then it was like between, I think it was, oh, who did he end up? Because he mentioned Victor, which I felt good because Victor's my favorite.
Victor's my favorite. Victor's the best.
How could you not
How
be?
could right?
God, man, what a woman. Uh, the I forget what he said. Damn, there's so much to try to remember. I should have been like journaling to try to remember it all.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, we went all the way around, and like when it came to when everyone around the horseshoe finished, then like it just felt natural. Like it went to jump to me because I was standing there. So I gave my answers, and it was funny because we went down the line, and all my colleagues at this point were like done with the cooking. It was just like hanging out
Yeah.
until we were able to close. And so they ended up, having a few drinks and like joining in, and it was. Then they ended up having like a killer time too, just being there in that room, like with everyone. Like it was real special, and we actually finished the circle, like shared what
Yeah.
we said. Victra and Chloe next to me had actually, you realized after I've been talking about this dinner, about the Pierce Brown dinner for 6 months, like the day before, like on Wednesday that week, was like, oh, Pierce Brown, oh, Red Rising. I was like, how did you miss this for 6 months?
Like,
Like, she's
what
like,
did you
oh
think we were
yeah.
talking about?
She's like, oh yeah, I started that book. I like read the first chapter and like was
Mm.
like, oh, another young male hero saves the world thing, and like put it down. I was like, you got it. No, hear me out. And then which she actually said, or no, she said like, I've only read the first chapter, and I think Pierce made the joke across the room was like, oh, so your favorite character is the Pit Viper, the only other character you've encountered. But she has since, after that dinner and meeting Pierce and hanging out, having a great time, and like seeing the passion in everybody, she picked it up and she's like probably almost done listening to the first book now.
Amazing.
Nice.
We were working together on sometime this weekend, and she like had her AirPods in and was like, "Oh, I'm at the point where like he's on the elevator with Dancer, like
Oh shit.
and I was like, don't stop listening
Yeah,
now.
keep going, keep going.
What are you doing talking to me? This is like the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Uh,
I I had a buddy stop listening at the carving for
Ugh.
like 2 years. I was like, what?
it's not even, you got it. You got it. You got
Yeah.
it.
I love that. That's amazing. Like, oh, I'm so jealous
Yeah.
that you got to experience that, but
Hmm.
so happy for you that you got to experience that. Like, that's just all so
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, and then after we went around and like uh, uh, we there was a bit of a migration to the patio. I think a few people looking for that nicotine fix, and
Yep.
it ended up being like me and Chef Chloe, who have been on all day. So at this point we're
Yeah.
12 hours in, and then like Joel and Pierce, and then about 5 or 6 other guests, all ended up on the patio, and then uh, hung out for over an hour and a half or an hour and 50, just drinking beer and talk. Like Pierce was kind of like doing his thing, floating around, but we talked to him for a long period of time, and got got some real like FaceTime, which was
Yeah.
crazy because like he's cool. We and my other colleagues that were on just for that service that night were like, typically I would never like just fuck off for like an hour in the middle of like a service, especially when you're waiting it. But like they kind of gave their blessing. They're like, hey, this is a special moment,
Yeah.
like time, like come, enjoy it. Like you're not needed in the kitchen right now. Just hang out, which was really cool and special for them to do. Uh, but yeah, like I sat on the patio and hung out with Pierce and drank beers, and we talked about. He would answer he answered questions with the excitement like I was shocked by it. Like he's just like he loves talking about these characters. He loves talking about these stories. Like they're like he feels the same way about series that we do, which is wild. Then and we talked about a few other things. Like I remember we talked about Joe Abercrombie's books, because I think I got into those like based off of like Pierce's like recommendation on Twitter or something,
Yeah.
and then devoured them. And we were talking about that a little. He mentions something about. Are y'all familiar with the Abercrombie books? First
I have
Law.
not yet read them. I know of them as a bookseller, but I have
I'm
not.
partway through the first book.
There you go.
Like we have a difference of opinion. Like I was like, I really love the Age of Madness, the second trilogy, but like I am big fans of like the standalone books in between the two trilogies, because the First Law is like a pretty, it's grim dark high fantasy like first trilogy, and then there's three standalones that all like explore with different genres. Like there's a heist, there's a western, there's a literally a book that takes place in one day from like 100 different perspectives. And then there's like more steampunk, not steampunky, more like industrial age fantasy for the second trilogy. So like we were talking about that, and he's like, yeah, he's more of a first trilogy guy. His favorite character is Logan Ninefingers, and I was like,
oh, yeah.
of course, yeah,
yeah.
He's like
He's
the barbarian archetype, and like just an incredible character. Which is like, I don't know. I was dwelling on that conversation or thinking about that conversation after the fact, and I just remember like reading. There's a book in that series, one of the standalones, where like Logan comes back, but he's like a new man. He's moved out west, and he's like getting away, growing out of his pathways, or trying to get away from it. And like I read that, I was reading that like at the exact time I moved from Nashville to Tulsa, and like Nashville was the home that I grew up in, and like and there's a long passage where like Logan's drawing on like what it takes to become like to grow as a man and like break old cycles, and there's like you just got to get out of it. And like I just remember like resonating super hard with that character, and like Pierce is just like same wavelength, and we were just like nerding out about that for a little bit.
That's awesome.
Yeah. There's just, oh man, it was incredible.
I love this. Like, this is so great. Your passion is amazing.
Seeing you so happy, like just you are in your bliss right now.
I love it,
and I love to see it.
A few days, or it's been like that for a few weeks.
I believe it.
Yeah, and then just completing this, like closing the loop. We guess like eventually like we were drinking beer just as much as the guests were, because we couldn't like finish closing or anything till anybody had left. But people were just understandably like hanging out and having a great time, and we were too. And then eventually, Pierce probably would have just been there vibing, hanging out, shooting shit with everyone. He wasn't the one to call it, I think, in his interest, because knowing he has still half a tour to finish.
Yes. And the night before he had gone a little hard the night before.
Yeah, he had some fun.
He was loose. It was fun.
He was so loose. Yep.
He made a few points though. Like me right now, it was like he had some times where he just like lost the thread, and I was like, hell yeah, that makes me.
Yeah, it's amazing. So great. We love him for it. Kudos to him for doing it.
Answering a question, and he goes the long way around, and then he ends the question with, and that's why I forgot the question. And I was like, yes.
Jeff, or I forget the owner of Magic City. He's a prominent Tulsan, and like he was bringing some heater questions, and then and then Pierce would talk about what he wanted to talk about, which is
I love him for it. It's so good.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that's awesome. Well, because then you guys must have closed up, because then we were hanging out at Valkyrie's, and you all showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a very fast and loose close. Like, folks didn't head out until later than expected, which was fine because everybody was having such a good time. But then we had a few drinks in the course of the evening, and then when all the guests left the dining room, we were like, oh, still have to close, still have to like wash down and finish, and we all like had a pretty strong buzz on.
Yeah.
And it was pretty fast and loose. that happens sometimes, but before we left, Pierce had mentioned that he was like planning to go to Valkyrie, and so we're like, okay, like we're vibing. Let's see if we can run into Pierce, and so we went. Lo and behold, perhaps unsurprisingly, Pierce didn't make it by, which would have been crazy because y'all were on the patio, and if he had walked
Yes.
up,
Oh my God, we would have
then
lost it. Security would have been called on me. It's fine.
Yeah, we had actually DM'd him and Joel, and we're like, hey, like,
hey,
we're at
we're hanging.
Valkyrie. We've got
Yeah.
there's a table right next to us that we're kind of just like, we're being obnoxious enough that people don't really want to sit there.
Yeah.
He
But we'll
wanted.
keep it low key if you show up.
He had plans. He had plans too, but I think the better angels might have won out
Yes.
and like in his
Yeah.
interest.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
fair game. But yeah,
Nice.
my colleagues and I, like, it was cool to see y'all again. Like I was flying high, obviously, and like they all were like, had told them like to expect like it to be super fun and it to be like a different experience. But like you can be told that a million times and not really,
Yeah, for sure.
And then they ended up really getting caught up in it and like having some killer time. So we all went to the bar because like it's not uncommon to go to the bar afterwards, but like for all of us to like make a point and like we're still so excited about the night to like not want it to end
Yeah.
was pretty special. And we got a booth and like just rehashed the night for a couple hours and was out too late because I had to go and do the same thing the next day. Like the next day I had a 13-hour day to do my to co-lead my colleague chef Saturday program. So I had to still keep it together to like wake up and do it again the next day.
Yeah.
Wow. Kudos. Yeah. Good on you. Good on you.
Congratulations.
I have to be frank though. That Sunday after 2 days afterwards, I woke up in my bed and only got out of it to pick up food like a few blocks down. Like I laid in bed for probably 15 hours.
Yeah, you must have been exhausted.
Yeah. I was wiped.
That's awesome.
But it was worth it. It was incredible.
Awesome. Amazing.
Yeah. I was driving Salem to the airport on Saturday after we had dropped some mail off, and I kind of turned to her. I was like, did this whole weekend just feel like a fever dream to you? And she just, yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not alone.
Yeah. I'm still not like, are we sure this is real? Like, are you sure you guys are real and I'm actually talking? Like, none of it feels real
We're
even
all a
after
simulation.
this. Yeah, it's been almost 2 weeks now, and I'm not 100% sure it actually happened.
I've been home 1 week.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
Week.
I'm ready to go back. Like,
yeah, it's crazy. Please take us back, Tulsa. Please take us back.
Yeah.
We're not going anywhere. We're here. It's a good time.
What was it in the winter?
Yeah, can we aim for like February?
Yeah.
Sure. I can't guarantee it'll be like much more pleasant than Saskatchewan, but I'm sure there'll be a little less snow on the ground. I don't know.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure it won't be like minus 60 Fahrenheit, so I'll be all right.
Oh no! Oh yeah. You'll come in your flip flops and shorts and walk around town.
We'll still be in the pool. That's the thing. We'll show up and still be in the pool.
Yeah, exactly. We'll break the crust off and
it'll be fine.
And hop right in.
Yeah.
Always welcome down here. Always welcome down here. We'll be happy to host you. Yeah. Oh, and to that
I'm not
point,
driving next time.
I did tell both Joel and Pierce at different points of the night, probably after having a few drinks, and just be like, "Hey, Red God comes out. We can always run it back."
Yeah.
We do. We'll have to do it even bigger and better.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
Well, so we sold out at 750. Like there was 750 people and it sold out. Red God, we're gonna need like, I don't know, can Canes hold more than that? Like we're gonna have to evaluate.
There's an arena down the road, but
perfect. Oh yeah, there's we watched we were sitting at Valkyrie's for so long on the Friday that we watched fireworks at the baseball diamond. So we'll just rent that out. Like, that's fine, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Red God's
In the
going to be a home
summer?
run anyway.
Sure. Oh, so I'm glad. Oh, we should have clarified. I fell off because of the craziness of that week, and then it was a crazy week after that. I'm still, because of the first on release, I always torture myself by listening to it at 1x speed. Because if I had it in my hands, if I had it in my hands, I'd bomb it in 2 sittings. So like just stretch it out for 30 hours, and then the next time I'll either listen to it quote unquote normal speed, which is more like 2x. But like for that first read, I just like torture myself by like dragging it out. I still have an hour left. I haven't actually.
Oh, no. All right. Crescent has finished it for the 3rd time.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, like. So, do you read physical or are you listen?
Both. So Skipper's book industry up here.
Yeah.
And she managed to catch an early copy. And so I finished it mid-April.
Hell yeah.
And this is like I finished it 2 weeks before our interview with Pierce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting in like the little quote unquote green room. We hadn't run live with the stream yet, and it was just Salem, Skipper, and I talking with Pierce, and Skipper goes like Crescent's finished Lightbringer, and he just like freezes like deer in headlights.
Like how was the first question. Like how?
I don't know anyone other than people I know personally that have read it. What did you think? Goodness. And then it was my turn to look like a deer in the headlights. I'm like, I don't know how to answer this. Like, basically, I got to tell him in coded phrase what my favorite part was. And that it had surpassed Dark Age as my favorite book of all time. That was amazing. Kudos to Skipper for hooking that up.
Yeah,
so
you're welcome.
Dark Age. Skipper, what's your number one book?
So Lightbringer is now my number one book. Golden Sun was my book before this. I loved Golden Sun.
It's my favorite right now. I have that last hour. I'm at a crucial part. No
spoilers. No spoilers.
We don't. Yeah, we're not talking spoilers.
We'll talk. We'll cut the recording, and then you can tell us.
Yeah, after we're done recording, you can talk.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, and like my one little quibble with the book, like early on, totally resolved after another thing. Like should have left my trust in Pierce and seen it through to the end.
And
and like so quibble's gone there. Like I can see Lightbringer being top 2 for me, easy. If not like number 1. It's been a ride, but I'll have to spend a lot more time with it. So
for sure. Yeah, he's done 3. I should have been done. So I physically read the arc, but only by mid-May. I was a little bit delayed, and somebody was very angry with me. Very angry with me. But then I listened to it the day it came out, and I should have been done, but I was driving on the different days, and I didn't want to be tired and listening to it, and so I am 2 hours out, and then HowlerCon hit, and it's just such a fantastic, and so then getting back in the car and finish the 2 hours that I'm like, no, I don't want Lightbringer to end for a second time. I don't. So it's like I'm living in the moment right now of I've got these 2 hours lingering, and I know what happens in them, but I still am like, no. I need this time to be saved. That it's never ending. It's never ending. Yeah, exactly. So I'm still hoarding it. And we eventually have to do a read through for the podcast, and I'm sure I'll do the 2 hours and then jump directly back into it for the read through. But right now I'm like, no. We're just stopped in this moment of time, and Lightbringer is never gonna end. It's fine.
I've never felt more sane, Skipper. I do that with a lot of different media where you come to like you've been on the whole journey. It's like literally just crossing the finish line. Like I do this with video games. I'm doing this with books all the time. I don't know what it is about. Like you want to stay in that glow a little bit, and crossing the line is going to be like, oh, it's going to change something, you know?
Exactly.
So I think that might be part of why I felt like being busy, but also like I'm in that phase right now. Up until last night, like I was packing yesterday and like bombed through like 6 hours of and like because I was like only 2/3 of the way through until last night or yesterday.
Yeah.
But also now I'm kind of worried. I'm in that phase with like that last hour. I just want it to be like
you just want to hold on to it until we have red God in our hands.
I've not heard anybody else have that phenomenon, so thank you for.
You're welcome. I'm here for you. I am here for your support group. I am, and it's funny of like people who are in the Howler's Den know like I was the one who was very spoiler whatever like no, and I have kept it on lockdown of reading through, making sure nobody's spoiling anything, and then we have a thread called "I've finished Lightbringer." And obviously I'm in there because I have finished it. But then people started theorizing about Red God, and I was like, get out of here. I'm not having it. So we had to open a different thread so I didn't have to look at their theories about Red God because I'm not there yet. Let me live in my Lightbringer moment.
I'm steeping in a tough one right now. But again, I can't.
Yeah. We'll talk after. We'll cut the recording and then we'll talk.
Okay.
But yeah, so on that note, thank you so much. I don't know if there was anything else. Like you were amazing tonight to talk to. I love your passion. Like you're so fantastic.
I've been looking for like when we first like talked about this, like did you like I was just excited y'all wanted to talk about this. Like I'm excited to share this with people because it's been something I've I don't know, it's a real treat, it's a real privilege, and like it's a real like lucky thing to be able to be in this line of work and like find something crazy like that to do to pull off. And it's just cool to share it with people who likewise passionate, about the same thing. So, appreciate y'all.
Yeah, thank you.
We really appreciate you coming on. That Wednesday, Skipper and I were sitting at the table, and you came and dropped off the dessert, and we kind of looked at one another. He's like, "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" And I was like, "Yeah, we obviously need him on the podcast, right?"
Immediately we were like, "And done."
Yeah. Before I even had the story.
Yeah. So
well, I appreciate like I wasn't familiar with the Den until this until HowlerCon. Like I was in a few groups or whatever, but like groups and Discords. But I just kind of wish Discord doesn't work for Discord doesn't work for my brain. I feel like an old man where like it's
a lot. It's a lot.
I'm in a few Discords and I just can't keep up with it. So like I need to make my introduction and I want to be engaged like insofar that I have time for and can handle. But Discord's tricky. Like it's hard to navigate. So hats off to y'all for putting together this crew and like everyone's sick. Everyone I've met y'all created a nice little community.
Yeah, it's a good group, but it is a lot. Like a lot of people. Yeah, Salem's amazing. Thank you for her for just having that brainchild of doing it. But it is a lot. People show up and they're like, "Why is comms moving so fast?" And it's like you just ignore it and just jump on to whatever you want. Like ignore it. But we will say that you have a special role in the Den. We created all different roles for people who are actually connected to the Red Rising fandom in a way that's quote unquote official. None of us are actually official,
verified,
but
I would say
verified.
It's
the Legend Legion, as Twist from Fabled Spirits has named us, the Legend Legion. So if you show up, if you look at nothing else, we've got a secret room for you sitting in the Den.
And it goes much slower because there's
nothing happening. We're just joking around between like 10 of us instead of 600 we hit today.
Yeah.
coolest shit that's ever happened to me. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. We'll
Awesome.
get you in there. But thank you for joining us, and thank you for everybody for listening. You've been amazing. Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah.
My security/fire alarm is going off, so I have to make an early.
Okay, well that's it. We're good. Have a good one.
All right.
Yeah.
See y'all later.